guys, welcome back to my channel. Now if you are new here, I am Ayman, happy to have you here. Subscribe if you haven't already because today is the comeback of True Crime Thursday. Although this is not being posted on the Thursday, I was like, it's better to have a comeback on the wrong day than a no comeback at all, you know what I mean? I feel like you guys agree. Now today's case is still ongoing, which makes it a bit harder, and this one is quite personal to me since it happened in Islamabad in Pakistan, where my parents used to live for like 3 years. Some of my friends actually knew the victim and the perpetrator as well as their families, which makes this just very close to home. I also went to the victim's vigil since her best friend hosted it here in Toronto, and this case is actually still ongoing. So without further ado, this is the case of Noor Mukadam, the victim. Now Noor was born on the 23rd of October 1993 in Jordan and was the daughter of the former diplomat Zahir Mukadam, who also acted as the Pakistani ambassador to South Korea. Now growing up, her dad said Noor had always been a happy-go-lucky, laughing kid. She loved to bake desserts and was always talking to her friends. You know, just a regular kid, like anyone. Now since her dad was an ambassador, she spent the first few years of her life in Ayman, Jordan. Then her dad was transferred to Seoul, where she attended Seoul Foreign School, and then the all-women's UR Women's University. She then moved to the US to live with her sister Sarah and went to Collin College. My point being is Noor could have been anyone's daughter. She wasn't from a super conservative family who had never let her leave Pakistan. She was educated abroad. She could have been me or my sisters or my friends, which is why this one hurts even more. And honestly, I don't even want to waste my breath talking about her murderer, but I need to provide some sort of backstory about Zahir so you know what kind of person he is. Now Zahir Jaffer was born in the US, and his dad is a super wealthy businessman and his granddad was Pakistan's High Commissioner to the UK. One of my close friends actually met his family many times growing up, and he always told me that he had never paid any attention to Zahir. Like there was nothing really about the man, you know what I mean, that would, you know, make you notice him or anything like that. Now Noor and Zahir's family were actually friends, you know, they had met on and off growing up, so there was familiarity there. His family are socialites in Islamabad, which pisses me off because there are people in our society meeting him and shaking hands with him at dinners and lunches and acting like he's a decent human being. Like Zahir was in Pakistan because he had been deported from the UK for a sexual harassment case, and his friends, like people knew this and still met him instead of spitting on his fucking face. My point being, Zahir was normal. He was Western educated from a good family. He could have been any of my guy friends. He could have been any Pakistani guy that I know. Now on to the case. On the 21st of July of this year, Noor was with her then 27-year-old boyfriend Zahir Jaffer at his house in Sector F74 in Islamabad. Now my friends and family in Islamabad live quite nearby and around this area, so the fact this happened under so many people's noses is beyond me. Now Zahir had a one-way flight booked to New York for the 20th of July, and so that evening he called Noor, who was at home, and she went over to his house at around 10 p.m. Now Zahir's flight was at 3:50 a.m. the following morning, so while Noor was over at Zahir's, he was trying to change his flight before deciding, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna take this flight tonight. Now what I was told at the vigil held by her best friend was that Noor actually went over there to end their relationship. She had been trying to end things for a while, so that was the pretext of their meeting that night. Now by 11 p.m. that night, the airport taxi had come, and 15 minutes later, Zahir just told the taxi driver to wait. An hour later, Zahir told the taxi driver he wasn't coming anymore, and so he was just given 1,000 rupees and he left. Now by 2:15, the taxi driver came back saying as he'd already been paid, he'd happily take him to the airport later, and so Noor and Zahir got into the taxi, and the driver reported that Noor was eerily silent throughout the whole ride. Now when Zahir realized he wasn't gonna make his flight, the taxi dropped them back home at Zahir's 20 minutes later. The couple fought for the next 17 hours after being dropped back, and Noor's phone was blowing up with texts from her parents asking where she was. At At 5:48 a.m., her mum video called her, but again there was no response. Noor managed to send her mum a voice note by 10 a.m., which enraged Zahir. He stole her phone and called her mum from his own phone, telling her that Noor was not with him. For the next 8.5 hours, Zahir tortured Noor, held her hostage, stabbed her, decapitated her, and then started playing football with her unattached head. Now, why would anyone in their right mind do something like that to somebody they apparently loved? You know, crimes of passion are so common, but the nature of this murder is just so cruel, I can't wrap my head around it. Now, Noor even tried escaping at one point. She ran to the balcony and threw herself off of it, landing on this grate below, hurting her ribs. Now, Zahir was shouting from the balcony at his guards, telling them not to let Noor leave the gate. She then hid in one of the guards' rooms before Zahir dragged her back into the house. And honestly, I can't even imagine how scared Noor must have been to be like, okay, I need to jump off this balcony because that's the only way I'm gonna survive this. Like, imagine how scared she must have felt in the moment. And you guys are probably asking, oh, why didn't like his guards just let Noor free? Like, in Pakistan, it's very different because the people who work for you, may it be your guards or your house nannies or, you know, your maids, like, these people are it is a huge like caste and class system in Pakistan where obviously these people want to keep their jobs, so they're more likely going to listen to their boss than try and save this innocent girl, which is fucked. Believe me, it's fucked, but that's just kind of how it is. The aftermath. Now, the case and what he did to this poor girl was already bad enough, but what happened in the direct aftermath was even worse. When Zahir had done the unspeakable, the reality of everything eventually sank in and he called his parents. And instead of calling the police on their psychotic son, they decided to call Therapy Works, which is a center for drug rehabilitation, counseling, etc. And he was actually cleared to work there as a counselor and was a counselor before this took place, which is the biggest joke of the century. Like, how was this man cleared to be someone else's counselor? Now, moving on. Now, if you guys don't know how convictions and jail sentences work, first-degree murder would be life in prison with or without the ability for parole, but if the defendant is found to be not of his right mind and can be proven insane, then the person can plead insanity, and instead of being in jail for the rest of their life, they'd be committed to a mental facility for life. And anyone would pick the latter over the former, and so the parents, not knowing how to condemn and help their son, called Therapy Works the scene so they could take Zahir to the clinic and admit him as a patient, all to strengthen the insanity plea. Zahir apparently tried attacking the staff when they got there, but they eventually subdued him and tied him up before the police got there. He was arrested on the 21st for the murder, and the police had to take Noor's dad to the house, and he saw his daughter headless and just massacred. He has sought the maximum punishment under the law against Zahir for allegedly murdering his daughter. That was a direct quote. Now, a few days later, on the 24th, the police made it public that they had found a knife, a knuckle duster, and a pistol at Zahir's, and they determined that they had all been used in Noor's murder. The next day, the police arrested Zahir's parents and his guards for concealing evidence and abetment. And I was so angry, you guys, in my head. Like, I fully think the parents are accomplices for not calling the police. And then my sister said something which made it make sense for me. She was like, if my son did something like that, my first instinct would be to help him or protect him. Like, yeah, she's right. It's hard for you or a parent to do that to their children, but come on. You knew this girl. You knew her parents. You knew he was a threat and he was unstable, and you did nothing. His friends are telling people that Noor was a promiscuous girl and that she was cheating on Zahir, and he found out that night and that's why he killed her. No, that did not happen. This was a weak man's hurt ego. The woman he loved didn't want to be with him anymore, and that hurt a bit too much to bear. Was it a if I can't have her, no one can situation? Or had he been planning this for longer than any of us know? He confessed to the murder on the 26th, and the next day, while his parents and guards were in jail, the family issued this statement. We categorically condemn this atrocity and forever denounce Zahir and his actions. By the 5th of August, Zahir had been in jail for over 2 weeks, and his parents' bail pleas fell on deaf ears. And how do they even have the right, considering they helped him? By the 15th, they had found forensic evidence of Zahir committing the crime. His DNA, his fingerprints, everything was at the scene. 6 employees from Therapy Works were also arrested but got out on bail a week later. Now let me just make this clear, this came from the CEO of Therapy Works himself. He said Zahir was not insane, he didn't have any clinical disorders, he wasn't diagnosed with anything, this man was simply a drug addict and an alcoholic. That's all there is to it. Now the trial started on the 29th of September and is currently ongoing. 12 people in total are expected to be indicted: Zahir Jaffer, the primary suspect, his parents Zahir Jaffer and Azmat Adamji, and 3 of the house staff. And of course the 6 employees from Therapy Works who have already been granted bail. Now obviously since the trial is still ongoing, there isn't a conclusion yet, but obviously people are pushing for him to be hanged for capital punishment, because how Pakistan works, I mean, the police are corrupt, everything is very corrupt. If you bribe the right person, if you have the right connections, you can get out of some very sticky situations. So right now people are trying to make sure the parents who are already still in jail aren't doing anything to lessen, you know, Zahir's sentence or find a way to bail him out. Like, people are making sure that he gets life. Either gets his life taken away or spends his life in prison. So I will keep you guys updated as I also know the updates. Please support this case if you can. Read about it. You know, like, this honestly can happen to anyone, and this really shook me to my core, because just being at the vigil and like being surrounded by like literal other Pakistanis who are exactly like me, girls and boys who knew this girl. Like, I feel like I could have been friends with this girl. This girl could have been one of my friends, which is why it hurt so much. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this case in the comments below, and let me know which cases you want me to cover for True Crime Thursday, which is now fully back from its long ass hiatus. Anyway guys, love you, bye!